Hey everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks for episode 160 as we bring back Ron Meischker from Page Expo as we are getting ready to start to promote for year three and looking forward to kind of hearing what's changed, what's new, and get some tips and tricks. So this year we've balanced out and we've went more instead of a player aspect, we've done game mastering. And I'm sure with the years and years of experience that Ron has had, not only as a convention goer and enthusiast, but also as a experienced game master himself, maybe we'll find some cool tricks that we can use on our table. So before we dive too far into the rabbit holes that we like to do here at the tavern, we're just going to let Ron kind of give us a brief introduction to himself and what's happening over there at page 3 this year. So take it away, Ron.
Hey, thanks for having me on the program again. I appreciate it. Always enjoy spending time with you guys. Page 3, the main thing about it this year is that it's greatly expanded from the first 2 years. We're more than quadrupling the size of the space that we're renting. We've doubled the number of vendors that will be there and have added some large manufacturers like WizKids and Trollord Games and GUI Cube and things like that. We took some feedback we received last year about some of the noise created by the seminars in the gaming space. Now they're going to be off in their own areas, their own self-contained rooms, and registration's extremely strong already. I mean, we're still more than 6 months away, 6.5 months away, really, at this point. Registration's really, really strong, and game submissions, we're closing in on 750 plus events, and everything's coming together. We're very happy with the way it's going so far.
Awesome. And it's 6 months out, right? So like we don't know what extra craziness is going to happen within the next 6 months. When we were there last year, and it was such a good time, we had the opportunity to meet the game masters that were running games. We meet all the special guests. We get to talk, sit down with Ron, and immediately I felt like it was one of those conventions that had been running for years. Like everything just moved smoothly, and that definitely has to be a shout out to not only Ron but his entire team who did an incredible job that last year.
Yeah, it's really the team. The volunteers do a great job. Um, when we decided we were going to run the convention, and I say we as in, everybody I talked to initially, and some people who came to me and asked me to put something together. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure got out to everyone who wanted to get involved is, hey, this convention's going to go places. It's well funded. There's experienced people running the convention, and it definitely got a nationwide following even in year one. People coming from all over the U.S. To the convention. But I felt it was important to let the participants, the game masters, those who want to be volunteers or, join the staff itself, there was an opportunity for them to put their fingerprint on this thing. and call it theirs. And I'm not disparaging any conventions that are out there, but those opportunities are long gone for some of the more established conventions. You're gonna fit into their mold, and uh, you know, you're gonna be a volunteer. You're gonna come out, but the opportunity to really be in on the ground floor and help drive what takes place at the convention. I was very open to that with everybody who was coming on board, and I think that's part of it. Everybody feels like it's their convention.
Mm.
It's their home convention. Like, Malik's Nistel, or Mike Nistel. Um, he said that to me. He's going through some tough times personally.
Yeah.
He moved. He had a car blow up on the move, and some different things happened. And he announced, like, "Hey, I'm going to end up skipping a lot of the conventions I was booked at for the foreseeable future.
Right.
The finances just aren't there." But he immediately reached out to me and said, "No, I'm going to be at Page in January because I consider it my home convention now." Which is great. I'm happy that people feel that strongly about it.
Absolutely.
He's going to skip Gen Cons. He skipped Origins, but he's going to come to Page.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
and
So
that speaks volumes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's epic. Um, I think that I definitely felt that same way. I do a lot of larger conventions throughout the year, but I have a couple small ones that I'm like, okay, no, these are my conventions that I go. I build the rapport with. I have a strong rapport with the entire team, and they feel homey. And all those conventions that I go to do that kind of stuff with are conventions that are still focused on gaming. And that was the first thing I noticed when I got the Page last year. Is no matter what panelists are there, what special guests are there, or even the vendors, the focus was gaming. And hearing how big the convention center has gotten this year just for gaming, I don't see that mentality changing.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because that is the focus. It's very, I don't want to say no frills when it comes to the gaming, but it's no frills. I mean, we do some cool stuff. Like, we have that great flea market on Saturday morning.
Yeah, that
Our
thing was
our
cool.
charity auction's excellent. For the special guests and staff, we do a cheesesteak dinner on the first night of the
Yeah.
convention and things like that. But the focus is on the gaming, and people come to play. And I've had different folks come to me and say, "Well, hey, why don't you run a Magic tournament here?" And I'm like, "It's not really our area of focus. It's not what we're doing, right?" And it's not just about selling badges. If it was just about selling badges, bring on the video games. I'll rent the next two halls, and we'll put an arcade in there, and we'll set up computer networks, and we'll do, well, video game folks, we'll bring in voice actors from video games. We
Mhm.
can do all that. It's not the focus of the convention. The anime and things like that. They're all gaming adjacent.
Mhm.
They're not gaming.
Yeah.
And I know that some conventions, they're out there to sell badges no matter what, or sell vendor space no matter what. And for me, I want to stay true to what the vision was and what the vision is. And we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And, the goal is to bring in professionals from the industry, legends from the industry, creators from the industry, and make them accessible to the folks who come, even to the point where they're sitting down at the same table and they're playing in games.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Things like that. And I use this analogy a lot, and I'll use it here. I love the fact, we get we get some unfair criticism because of the number of guests we bring in for whatever reason. And For me, it's like, if you're going to put your kid in a school, are you worried if there's too many teachers there? You want that good teacher to student ratio, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we have a great guest to attendee ratio, and we're going to have over 100 industry guests there this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 Including you two guys, right?
Right.
What?
Haven't got. We'll talk about that after this because I'm missing my note.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
We
Well.
would love, like I said, we'd love to come back. Definitely 100%.
Yeah. That was
Um,
honestly that was my first like TTRPG convention to go to. I've been to other conventions like just comic conventions and whatnot. That was like my first one dedicated to the TTRPG community, and it
Oh,
was fantastic. I I loved it. I couldn't say anything bad about it.
but that comment you had made of getting the opportunity to sit at a table with these legends. As soon as we arrived Friday or Thursday night, Friday night,
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday night, that was the first game we played. Didn't expect it. We were
Oh yeah, it
coming
was
up to
Zeb.
help out with everything and trying to take a bunch of pictures, which we still have, and we have all these videos. And then all of a sudden, one of the staff was like, "Hey, there's 2 extra seats over here if you want to go sit down." And we're like, "We've taken a bunch of pictures," and then we sit down and we find out who we're sitting with, and it's the 16 player table at the black box that Zeb Cook was running the Return to Dread. And I'm like, I knew who Zeb Cook was, but he had no idea who Zeb Cook was. But to watch a man at his age run 16 players as if he was running 4 players was absolutely incredible. It was such a cool experience.
yeah. We've done something this year that I think's pretty incredible, and we have 3 of the 4 authors of the Slavers series, the original AD&D first edition adventures A1 through 4.
Oh, wow.
We've got Zeb Cook there. We have Harold Johnson, who's just a legend in his own right.
Yeah.
And we have Alan Hammock joining us for the first time this year. And the 4th author, Lauren Schick, I mean, we can't get them all. But Zeb's going to run A1 and 4. Harold's going to run A2, and Alan's going to run A3. So they're each going to run the adventures they ran. And we're actually running that throughout the convention. Now, those are 8-hour adventures.
That's awesome.
They were 2-part adventures when they originally ran many moons ago. And we've got guys, and I don't think I'm hurting their feelings when I say this. They're not younger men, but they're going to put in the time, and those events sold out in 4 seconds.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
4 seconds they were gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. Honestly, I was like, it would be really cool. We should have these guys run A1 through 4, and we're putting all the money from those event fees for those 4 adventures into our gamer assistance program, and in less than a minute, $1,125 went directly to our gamer assistance
That's
program.
beautiful. Beautiful.
So yeah, I was
That's
very
awesome.
very happy about that. And there's going to be some people that are going to have, the games of their life
Yeah.
at Page with those
Legends. I mean, those.
they're legends, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right?
I literally, sorry to cut you off, but this was such a cool opportunity. Is that when we did the Zeb Cook game, I've seen the PDF version of the Isle of Dread, but I was like, now I've played it. Like now I want it. So thankfully
flea market.
the flea market, somebody
Yeah.
had an Isle of Dread laying in there, and I snagged that sucker up and went and got my my signed copy from Zeb Cook, and I was like, this is such a cool opportunity that most people will never get a chance to.
Blue or orange cover?
Blue.
Now you got to get an orange cover
Now I got to find.
from
Oh, now.
BCMI, the Menser expert. They changed the color of the cover. So, now, if you're going to be a real collector, you got to get them both signed.
Okay. Challenge
Don't tempt him.
accepted. Don't
And
challenge.
listen, the second one has some pretty cool features in it. Some of those perforated maps that were in the original blue one, that they're like full color, like cardstock in the second one. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'll give a shout. I want to give a shout out to North Texas RPG Con.
Definitely.
They recently put together an adventure, and ran it. That is it's like a continuation to the Isle of Dread. I think it's called, X 1.5 is what they called it, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, when we played, it was interesting because this was it's a convention ran game by Zeb Cook, and he said we're returning to the Isle of Dread. So this was after everything had happened in the book itself, but it was so cool to. We played for what, 4 hours?
Yes, 4 hours.
And all of a sudden he goes, "Y'all have just barely hitting the midpoint." And we were like, "Whew." Now, minus there, we went off on a tangent on a couple of these, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting opportunity, and then to kind of go forward with this thought process of how accessible these guests are. The following day, we arrive at Page. We do our pictures. We kind of hang out for a little bit, and then I didn't know who we were sitting down with at first. Chuck had no idea who we were sitting down with at first. And Rich Baker is like, "Hey, I have free time, and I'm just going to put this table together if you want to sit down and play." And we were like, "Sure." And all of a sudden,
another legend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Baker, so I'm pulling up my phone and I'm going," and then he said Forge of Fury, and I'm like, "Let me see who wrote the original Forge." Like, oh, well, about that. Yep, we're sitting right down. We're going to try this out now. And yeah, but that's the opportunities you get here seem to be that way consistently throughout the weekend. Not just for us goofballs, but like for anybody, because we didn't plan on anything.
Even for me, at page one of the GMs, something happened on Friday and they couldn't run their game Friday night. So I sat in and I said, well, I'm familiar with that adventure. I will run that game. And so I sat down and I had like 4 players, and unfortunately I didn't have pre-generated characters for them. So we went through like a really crash bang 3d6 in order, character generation.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Jeff D walks over to the table and says, "Hey, can I sit in? Can I play?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was having my my fanboy.
Yeah, you're getting to run a game for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. I'll never forget it.
I think that's kind of the cool part about these conventions, and specifically smaller conventions where you have that close-knit time frame, is that you do get those moments where you're like, "I'll never forget this." Like,
yeah,
I'll probably never forget the Isle of Dread adventure. I thought that was so cool. Like, and I had never played the original black box or blue box anything, so it was really cool to see how everything worked. And he had cheat sheets for everything for AD&D, which was awesome because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, we learned that code.
We learned THACO in like 2 seconds because he had literal cheat sheets for everything. And I was like, what is this? This is so much easier than what they tell me. Yeah, it was just a cool opportunity. So so many special guests. We've got double the vendors this year. We have,
The
you
flea
said,
market.
the flea market. We have a giant gaming room, like giant. You're saying is it about the size of the whole first one, or is it bigger?
No, the space last year,
Yeah.
it was 20,000 square feet of gaming space and 12,500 square feet of game exhibits
Okay.
and vendors.
Hmm.
This year it's uh, 32,500 square feet of vendors and 85,000, or maybe it's closer to 90,000 square feet of gaming space and
Wow.
seminar space.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Uh,
So it should be it should be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to it, and
and there's some big
it should be a
events
ton of
that are.
fun. And we've got some uh, great additions this year, like uh, organized play things. We've got Legends of Greyhawk. We've
Yeah.
got the new Wardens of the Eastern Marches, which is something that Alex Kammer and Gamehole Publishing, Gamehole Con are pushing forward. We're going to be the second convention to run that ongoing organized play event with them. And we had a lot of choices on organized play, but we just felt extremely comfortable that with what Alex had put together and the work that had gone into it, and just his whole body of work is excellent anyway. So it was really a no-brainer there. We also have a Shadow Dark mega event called Down the Dark Stairway, which
Your
is
boy is going to be helping with that one.
basically you can come. It's a free event. You can come in at any time. You can play an hour. You can play all day. You can play all weekend. You can come and go, assuming you get out of the dungeon. You can't just leave. You just don't go back to the surface. Say, I go back to the surface. You have to get back out, and then your character can park his or her butt at the inn and then come back later and run through it. And we're going to have numerous celebrity game masters involved in that, in addition to a specific team that is overseeing it. We know Kelsey's going to run time slots in it. Okay. And working with Kelsey on designing the event. We know Mike Shea, the Sly Flourish, aka the Lazy GM. Okay, he's going to be running portions of it. Baron DeRop is going to run some sections of it. Professor Dungeon Master is going to run portions of it. Um, you know, Justin Alexander. It's going to be the players don't know when the celebrity GMs are going to walk up and start to play. But every hour on the hour, who's ever waiting to go in will go in on the hour. And then, basically you generate your characters right there, and your characters grow as they gain experience. And, of course they die. We'll have a little graveyard set up for them where they'll be all tacked up on the wall. But it's going to go on all weekend, and it's going to be awesome. Stefan Picorni from Dwarven Forge is going to help us with the dungeon layouts, and
Going to be huge.
there's going to be
It's
some
such a cool
really,
opportunity.
really cool stuff going on with that.
Yeah, I took Chuck and some of our friends through a Shadow Dark adventure on the 4th of July, and
Yeah, he did.
I had my first TPK because man, Shadow Dark's a lot different than Dungeons and Dragons, and I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not great when your cleric gets knocked out the first round.
Yeah,
and you only rolled a 4. You only had 4 health too, which was really rough
great.
at level 1.
well, and there's more. Ed Stark from West End Games fame,
nice.
and TSR Wizards, you know, Elder Scrolls Online. He's
Mhm.
been involved in almost everything you can be involved in the gaming industry. He joined our staff last year, and he's a big part of what we're doing. And he's running a Page Mini campaign with in conjunction with WizKids and their terrain and their
Ooh.
miniatures, and that is pretty much a weekend long event too, where you can play in one round or you can play in all the rounds of it. And he's recruited some very good GMs. In fact, Rich Baker is one of them. I believe Zeb is going to take a turn running a portion of that. So it looks like
It's
we've
gonna.
we've got some cool stuff to do this year.
Yeah.
There's
In
gonna be so
addition to,
much you can't decide.
well, you know what? It's we it's our job as the convention organizers to create and curate great content and to
Sure.
work with great guests and to work with great game masters, to give people things to do at the convention. um, I think many conventions, especially the larger ones, have lost their way a little bit with that. It's, let's have 1,000 vendors and let's have 1,000 open gaming tables, and if we rent the space and put the tables up, they will come, right? Sort of thing. And listen, it's working. People are doing, people show
Yeah.
up. They, the big conventions are just getting bigger. For me, it's my job as the organizer to put together a good schedule
Yeah.
and let people have options and let them know what they're going to be able to get involved in when they get to the convention. I think that's very important as a convention organizer. And uh, that's just the way we're always going to do it. We're just not going to get lazy with it and rest on our laurels and have an expanded vendors room, just for the sake of, we want to sell badges. We want to sell badges to people who want to come game.
Yeah. That was the one thing I really did under. I really noticed is, and there's very few conventions that I've been to that have that same mentality. Is that when you walk into a gaming convention and all the tables are full, you know it's a good night because that means
Yeah.
everybody's playing something. Um,
Yep.
and if they're not full, people are looking for people, which is even better because that means that you're going to meet new people and play new games. We played
6.
six, 5 different games.
Yes.
We played 6 full games, but we played 5 different games of different systems, and some of them we had never even touched before this convention.
Yeah.
And it kind of pushed us as a content developer as well as game masters to step outside of the box this year. So I will say thank you to Ron because he kind of was that catalyst to push us that way.
Yeah.
So because we're now running, Chuck's running his first system in Power Rangers. I'm doing something in the One Ring right now, and we've got more things in the pipeline already.
Your convention allowed him to tickle his fancy on Shadow Dark too. He has been talking about it nonstop because of Paige.
Because of Paige, yeah.
Back in the what I'm going to call the old days, when I used to run conventions in the early 90s and things like that, it's a different world now, the way you promote them and everything else. But it was very hard to get game store support back then because the game stores were terrified if their customer base went to a convention, they'd buy things from the convention vendors instead of from them. And my argument to that was always, no, 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 no. They're going to open up. They're going to make your pie, because game stores would tend to float certain ways with what they carried, and things like that. They're going to make the pie of what people want to buy from you much, much larger.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's just a fact. I mean, people go to game conventions, they learn to play games. Now, fortunately, game store owners have changed these days because they know you can go anywhere and get whatever you want. Like eBay, bang, Amazon, bang,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to go the extra yard as a game store owner to accommodate your customers when you come in. You can't be greedy and try to like, nestle them close to your breast because you're afraid, which is great. I mean, we've got so many supporting retailers. I can't even,
I
I don't
tried to
even know
put
what the count
enough.
is this year.
I tried to put as much information as I could on the real promo because there's so
Mhm.
much happening at Page this year. Um, so much that's going to be able to be done, which is awesome. Um, Last year, like you said, the panels and the vendor hall and the gaming hall, they were all together. And I will admit, out of all the conventions I've been to where they've done that, yours is the only one that I've actually noticed work. Um, and now knowing that that is also going to change to a much more traditional gaming is gaming, vendors are vendors, panels are panels. Um, I don't see it getting any smaller anytime soon. Like it's awesome. Um,
Well, as long as the folks who come to the convention, have a good time, it'll keep growing, and which is great. I mean, there is a little part of me that says, at what point am I not going to know every person who walks through the door from year to year to year? And I'll be sad when that day comes. But ultimately, I really want people to have a good time at the convention. And if I go back to the reason Page started, we go back to the throes of COVID, right? And everybody in the gaming community, they were just killing each other online. Oh, you don't respect me. You're a gatekeeper. You're a grognard. You're woke. You're this. You're that. And I remember watching it from my little corner of the gaming internet. I'm going to call it my RPG collectors barter group and discussion group. Going, what difference does any of that crap make? I mean, like, what do you care what's going on with other people? When you sit around a gaming table, you're all in alignment. You want to have fun. Like, fun is where you're in alignment at the game table. Nobody says you have to go marry them. Nobody says you have to hold their hand going into a voting booth. Nobody says you have to sleep with them. It doesn't matter. Have fun at the gaming table. And, I do feel pretty confident that we've gotten that done with Page, with the mix of the old and the new, the legends and the new school content creators online. We've been able to manage that balance and make everybody feel welcome. And we do some things to try to make more people feel welcome. We do have a diversity initiative.
Mhm.
We do have a do good intent with our gamer assistance program. um, we're trying to be good stewards of the hobby in
Absolutely.
these things. But ultimately, first and foremost, it's about the gaming. And sometimes people got upset when we announced the diversity initiative. And it was like, well, we need to get younger, as let's put aside race. Everybody hears diversity, they think race. We need to be younger too. I mean, you look around and everybody's got gray hair, and it's not great for the hobby. You know,
Well, I mean,
you
the hobby
know,
will die if that's the
yeah,
case.
you
Like we've
you
got to
have to
keep it
get younger.
going.
You have to
Um,
get younger, and it's why we have so many alliances with university game clubs and high school game clubs, and
that's awesome.
why we give away badges
Yeah.
to some some younger people's
Mhm.
game clubs, because we want to get them involved. I mean, in fact, I'm wearing here, I don't know if you could see that, it's a little blurry, I guess, but this is something one of the game clubs gave me as like a thank you for the free badges we gave.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Right. A local charter school. And those kids, they got an opportunity to come to a game convention. They wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if we didn't put it out there in an attempt to be a little more
Yeah.
diverse and trying to welcome people into the convention scene.
Yeah, and the fact that, last year I think we were walking around, we saw a handful of like just dedicated kids tables.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was
Yeah.
great. Like you saw kids, I guess what, 8 to 12 at those tables that were just
Mhm.
having a blast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the guys that run we got a chance to talk to a couple of them. The guy that runs Castles and Crusades, Chuck,
mhm.
he literally had 3 tables that were just for kids that weekend. So, and
Yeah. He ran events. Matt Archibald,
Mhm.
who's a North Jersey dungeon master, he runs a lot of different games. He ran some great events as well. I think one of them was called "The Goblin Stole Our Pig," and previous year we had a kids Clayorama event, which is an ancient game from Dragon Magazine where you create a monster out of Play-Doh and you put it up against other people's creations using a rule set.
oh, that's
and
cool.
and kids love that game. After page 1, that was one of the feedback notes that I focused in on. We had people saying, hey, there should have been more stuff dedicated for just kids.
Mm.
And this year we had a ton of tables for just kids. And it was funny, leading up to the convention, I'm like, well, nobody's pre-registering for the kids games. It's like, we heard the feedback, we made a call to action, we fulfilled what we wanted to do. Well, believe me, the kids showed up with, especially on Saturday.
Yeah.
They were there with their parents, and I think some of it were some parents who were, they're gamers, and it's like, I have to get my kids involved, or this is going to be bad for me in the future. But you know what? That was great. We had some parent child games, which went very well. And we had a seminar, I think it was called What Are My Kids Doing in the Basement? Which was well attended by parents. So, we have to educate the parents too who aren't gamers.
Right.
If their kids are getting involved, what are they going to be?
What are they actually getting into?
What are they getting into?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't want what happened back in the 70s and 80s with the panic, where everybody was like, "Oh, what are the kids doing? They're all going to summon demons and kill things." No,
We didn't.
we didn't do it. It didn't work like that. I never summoned a demon in the basement. I might have tried a couple times, but never did it. Never
had a
worked.
basement.
I mean, we had to have basements because we lived in the north, tornadoes. But yeah, so that's exciting though, because like I said, I haven't decided yet if this will be the first year where my son comes. My son is a handful, and that is
How old?
10.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a fun 10.
He's a fun 10, but he loves tabletop games, and we played a couple weeks ago with a bunch of people with his little brother who's 6, and when I had to dumb down the game so that his little brother could play, he was mad because he wanted the full game, and I was like, all right, well, he gets the full game when we all play together with the adults. But yeah, we've done a local convention here called Dragon Fair, which is a 1-day convention / Renaissance fair, and he played the entire day. He would bounce from one table to the next, and Chuck knows he just bounces anyways, so it's just who he is. But he loves playing.
Bring him up, bring him to Page.
Trying to get my
be
daughter
something for him to do.
Trying to
Yeah.
get my daughter into it. I think it depends on the game.
Hmm.
I think she'll like it, but it depends on the game.
So, so one of the games that I've recently picked up on is a game to DM Dave, the online creator. Um, he published a rules set called oh geez, I'm just drawing a blank. How's that happen? Badge Quest. It's called Badge Quest.
Okay.
And the players are all what are called Blossom Scouts. And their goal is they have to go out and sell cookies and compete against other troops selling cookies. Okay.
Yeah.
But along the way, they have to solve mysteries and do good and battle
Yeah.
against other troops and bad guys. And I've had a lot of fun with it. You can't die in the game. You can suffer enough embarrassment points where you run home crying. Things like that. But we've had some fun. We've had some fun with it in my game group, and I ran it at a little convention, Wes Allen's convention at CleesaCon, and the Blossom Scouts came across. They were dared to go into a haunted house, but where there were strange noises coming out of it, and it was some guy scrapping the old metal and copper pipes out of the basement, and the sawzall was making loud squealing noises. So they uncovered the guy. This individual was a person of concern when they were selling cookies because he was driving around in a white panel van everywhere. So I probably turned the game a little darker than DM Dave intended with that, but it was a ton of fun. But somebody in my game group ran it. She wanted to, kind of get her feet wet with GMing, and she ran it, and it was fun. You were at like a scouts camp, and there were things happening at the scouts camp. And it was interesting and a lot of fun. So I would, your daughter might like that because it's not that divergent from what she is, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I mean,
There's a lot of games that are coming out that are similar in that aspect where they're not the dark and gritty, they're not the heavy combat, they're just kind of storytelling games, and they're definitely helping a lot of kids kind of break out of that shell and
right.
communicate. So, and that's awesome. I'm glad that there's such a support at Page for kids games, because you don't see it at every convention, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dare Luck Club by Danny Line Games. That was coming from Fosco Lockwright in the chat. It's kind of like Stranger Things.
Huh,
That's yeah, that what a good guy. That's Ed Lopez, who's a New Jersey-based game master.
Oh, awesome!
And he gets around to all the larger conventions out there. What a good guy. In fact, he's going to be coming to my game room for my home game group, and he's going to be running the Walking Dead RPG, which I'm excited about.
Have you played it before or no?
I haven't played it, but I mean,
it's fun.
It involves zombies and post-apocalyptic stuff, so I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
And thankfully, it's ran by our friends over there at Free League.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite third parties right now that have come out, partially because of my love for Lord of the Rings, but there's also much more others out there as well.
Yeah.
Aliens out there, which is another fun one if you just like horror games. That's a lot of fun. Alien, Walking Dead. They just released a bunch of stuff for Outgunned, which is more of a superhero one. Vossen and Dragonbane.
Electric State.
Tales of the Loop. all sorts of fun stuff.
I have all the Vossen stuff because I've collected over the years. There's Mythic Iceland based RPGs, Mythic Russia based
Ooh.
RPGs. So I've kind of blended all that stuff together and some other third party stuff because at some point I want to run, a Slavic, Nordic Slavic based RPG. Based on Earth. It would be based on Earth, but it would bring forth the mythic, mythological past, and
Nice.
for those regions. I don't know if I'll get around to it in my lifetime, but I've got enough notes on my phone. I've got like a little specific file for it where I'm constantly typing little ideas into it.
I haven't played Vossen yet. I have all the books, but I have not played it yet. But there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those RPGs I'm working through right now.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of RPGs out there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there, and we're going to continue to grow that aspect of the shows. So, is there anything that we're allowed to know that we don't know yet about page 3 that's coming? Any secrets?
Well, they already gave us like good ones already.
Well, I'll give you a secret that nobody knows, and I'll announce it. Maybe I've hinted at it a little bit. We're going to have the Great Gooey Game Show at Page on Friday night.
What?
Yes.
So,
if you haven't been to Gen Con and you haven't been to Genghis Con, this is your way to see it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Alphinius is going to be coming to Page. I mean, that's exciting.
Have you been in a room with him before?
I've been on conference calls with him.
Oh, the energy that man brings is insanity.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
As a GUI game writer, I understand that, and it's so much fun.
So he's so they're going to be running that on Friday night. That should be awfully exciting, and I think there's going to be. I don't think we have any surprise guests that we haven't announced yet.
But who knows?
But we'll probably I'll probably pull a rabbit out of a hat that nobody expects at some point prior to the convention. We'll see.
That's awesome. Being a part of the GUI community for going on now 5 years, that's a fun little thing you don't want to miss. The game show is as interactive as you can for an audience I've ever seen. It's so much fun. And it is the only other convention that I go to that I feel is my home convention. Page will now be a home convention, partially because you guys are so much closer than anything else I have to fly to, which is awesome because I needed an East Coast convention that I felt was actually a gaming convention. I think PAX Unplugged is great. I think it's an amazing convention, but it's definitely grown outside of tabletop.
It's not exactly the same target audience, right?
Nope.
So and that's not a bad thing, but
no, it's just different.
I've had people say to me, I can't believe you're going so close to PAX. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's not the same audience.
It's not.
And
you still get 2 months. You got 2 months between that, and for the East Coasters, that's great. I don't have to fly anywhere to go to a convention. It's great. I can drive up. No, I completely agree. I have my West Coast home convention, which is Genghis Con out in Colorado Springs. That's the GUI Cubes home convention. And then I've got Page now here on the East Coast. Awesome. And then right in the center, I have GaryCon. Those are my 3 conventions that I go to every year. Gen Con I go to because it's Gen Con, even though
I really have to recommend you look at Gamehole Con.
So Alex has invited me. He invited me at Page, then re-invited me at GaryCon. Um, I'm just not sure I'm gonna have the time to do it, because that's what the end of or middle of October.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, Chuck and I will be just coming back from a week long in Thailand for martial arts training that first week of October.
Your priorities are clearly all messed up.
I don't know.
International.
Yeah. Martial arts training in Thailand.
I can do other things while I'm there. I don't have to just do
let's not get your show taken off the air. Though, Chuck, I'll have more respect for you if you tell me you scream Bangkok and give the little flip at some point during the trip.
As soon as we land, I'm going to do it.
We'll do
it. As soon as we start getting off the plane. Guess where we're at, James?
Bangkok. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I don't know. I might try to make it. It's all going to depend. I would need a place to stay and a badge. That's all I could use.
Well, we'll talk. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
I have I have a room out there, and it's just me and Phil. So
Phil's a good dude too. We got to get Phil on here.
There's floor space for sure.
I'm sure I could come up with something better than floor space, but I'll go with what I can.
It won't be cheaper than that floor space.
Yeah.
I mean, you can snuggle up with Phil out on the fold-out couch in the other room. You can do that. You two can share hair care tips.
It's yeah.
Wax on, wax off.
That's right. Just got to do it right.
Well,
all right.
Turtle wax.
So we're about to move into what I call happy hour. We get 8 minutes. Before we do that, though, I want to let sure, Chuck, do you have any questions before we just open it up to the audience to say whatever? And then if they don't say anything, I'm gonna pull out the dice.
Well, okay. So I got. Traditionally, I have two questions, but I want to pose one in particular for you because you touched on it. But I want you to explain it for our audience. What your gamer assistance initiative? Can you explain that for everybody as well?
Yeah, we noticed that so many of the early creators and artists of the industry were struggling to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. Folks, just hobbyists that have been in the hobby for many years. Some folks were struggling to make ends meet. They, seeing people like Darlene having to go to GoFundMe to get a roof put on her place. Seeing Mike Nistel's car break down.
Yeah.
When he's on his move. Folks coming down with medical conditions that just put them in dire straits because they were in the game industry.
Not cheap.
Yeah. So our idea was to create a fund that people could apply to, or their friends could apply for them, because some people don't want to ask for charitable help. And we take certain aspects of our convention, we deem certain games to be for charity, where the event fees go into the charitable fund, and our auctioneer fees and our buyer premiums from our charity auction go into this fund, and anything that's donated to be auctioned, not consigned, but donated, 100% of that sales cost plus the buyer's premium go into the fund.
That's
Wow.
And then
awesome.
what we do is when we find worthy causes, people really struggling who've been involved in the gaming industry or involved with gaming for many, many years, we dole out some money to help them, soften the blow of a car breaking down or, being displaced from a home or whatever it may be. It's not something where we go around and we jump up and down and say, hey, we gave $1,000 to this person because their house got foreclosed on. We don't want to embarrass anybody who's out there.
Right.
Some people have come out and talked about and thanked us publicly. We don't require it.
Yeah.
We just want to do the good and not do the good as a market. It's not a marketing ploy for us. It is we're here to do good with it.
That's
And
awesome.
we've doled out quite a bit of money. Recently we put out a notification like, hey, if anybody has anything that they want to apply for, please let us know. We received quite a few applications. We don't accept them all. We look at the circumstances and then we figure out what we can and can't do, or what we're willing to do, and we go from there. And I feel good. We've helped a lot of people.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
With this money. So
Yeah. The fact that y'all do that it speaks a lot to what you guys are trying to stand for.
Yeah.
It was one of the conditions I put down on this when some of the folks in my online community were talking about the idea of running a convention, and they wanted to base it around that community. And I said, okay. And they came to me and they said, Ron, you used to run conventions. I said, quarter of a century ago. Sure. I mean, it's a different world now. I don't know the first thing about what's out there. And, when the pestering continued about the convention, I said, well, let's take this back a step. One, we need to have dedicated people that want to do this, okay, as helpers. I can't do it all. Two, I need to have fun doing it. Because it's not a money-making operation for me. And three, there needed to be a do-good element. It needed to help people in some way, shape, or form. Those were conditions I put on it, and to date, those conditions are all being met. I'll admit, on July 1st, when tabletop events was down and people the gold badge holders couldn't select their games at the designated time, I wasn't having a lot of fun then trying to fix it. And getting 200 plus messages in a short period of time asking me if I know that the website's down, and when's the website going to be up, and oh my God, what's happening? The world's ending. And if they didn't get me on Facebook, they had my number, they were texting me. And if I didn't answer the text right away, they were calling me. And that wasn't a lot of fun, but we were able to get it rectified. We figured out the issue. We moved back the event selection opening 2 days, and everything went smoothly then. So, I have to I need to keep having fun with it. I need to feel good about, that the do-good element's still there, and it really needs to meet my vision for it, which I described earlier. It needs to be about the gaming. It's not about selling badges. It's about selling badges that are focused on tabletop RPGs. We've got a nice board game library. That's great. We have a miniature section this year that we've added. I think there's 20 miniature tables that are set up. But the focus is on RPGs, and that's really the area of interest of mine, and that makes it fun for me.
That's awesome. Funny enough, this will be the first show this entire year that I didn't start out with the first 3 questions I always start out with, and that's fine because our focus was definitely on trying to get all the information about what Page is, because it was so much fun. But happy hour is open, so this is the opportunity where you as a viewer are able to ask any questions about really anything to the 3 of us or about the convention. And while we wait for those questions to come in, Ron, I know you said you're on a work trip, so you might not have it, but do you have a D20 laying around?
I do.
Yeah, that's my boy.
As a matter of fact, I do.
You doubt this man.
I don't doubt him, but I just, hey,
I never
take one with me too.
Never travel without it.
I travel with at least one set.
What is this?
What?
What is
this? There it is.
That's right. Look at that. So cool.
And
cheesesteak mimic.
Cheesesteak mimic.
He's got a name. His name is Phil.
Name is Phil. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Phil cheesesteak. All right. Let's see. I have a 20-sided die. What am I doing with it?
Roll me a number.
Okay. Stand by.
Oh, he's going to show you.
He's going to show. He rolled the natural 20 right off the bat, didn't he?
Nope.
No.
What we have here, or we have, I don't know why that's not
all blurry.
It's blurry. Just shout it out for the audience. Let's see what we got.
All right. So what we have here, real quick, where we have
it's the special edition dice.
We have the Page special edition dice. Why is this being so hard?
It does not like that close.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, when you got blurred background, it doesn't like things.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll roll on the die. The roll is a 4.
All right. So, and this is kind of where we gather some information on, for our audience to hopefully use in their own table. But what is a homebrew rule that you recommend or that you use at your table?
I always have a sand timer at the table. And if there's some consternation on what to do, and to add to the pressure, I'll throw it out on the table and make them watch the sands run through while they're making their decision. And I have one that's 5 minutes, and I have one that's 1 minute.
Diabolical.
I got to teach the crew of what the light timer was in Shadow Dark, and it was cool.
Loved it. There it is.
Yep, there it is.
The skyline.
Look at that, the skyline of Philadelphia.
Yep.
So we have somebody from the audience that's asking, where is the convention being held?
Convention's held at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is in suburban Philadelphia, near King of Prussia. It's got ample parking, and it's all free surface parking. So you just pull up, find a spot in the parking lot, and come on into the convention center. And
don't got $100 parking garage tickets or nothing like that.
Nothing like that. No.
Deal with that at Gen Con. Anyway, Gen Con is slowly becoming not my convention to go to. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I love Gen Con because of the enormity of it, but at the same time, I'm definitely got to be a little bit more enjoyable. I get to enjoy a little bit more at these smaller conventions. Nearby hotels that you would recommend.
Well, the Hilton Garden Inn is sold out. The Hampton Inn next door to that is very close to selling out. In fact, I was on the phone yesterday with the hotel group, telling them that they have to open up more rooms. That they have hotels about 2 miles away. I said open up blocks now, because I can't believe we're sold out, just about sold out in 2 hotels already.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That also means we need to book our hotel.
Yeah, go to our website. I know the Hampton has suites available, which are pretty inexpensive, and that gives you 2 to 3 beds with the fold out.
Well, we bring
Something
the
to think
kiddos,
about.
that'll definitely be an option of the
Yeah.
suites. So, but
Yeah, get a hotel now. Yes,
get a hotel now. That's what we're hearing right now.
Yeah, if you go to our website at phillygamingexpo.com, go to attend, and then hotel accommodations, you can click on there, and you'll get a link to our hotel blocks.
Okay. Chuck, if you want to grab that, if you can, we'll drop that in the channel.
Oh, yeah.
While we're
I gotta make sure to write it down right.
Let's see, who else we got? Anybody else have any questions before I missed any? If not, we're gonna roll another die. And you can't get a 4 again. At least we hope not.
All right.
I'll just pick either a 3 or a 5 if he does a 4.
All right. 14.
Okay, this is an interesting one. So what is a favorite event or adventure that you have put your players through?
I'm very proud of an adventure that I've written that's actually going to be my first published adventure as a convention exclusive. We're going to have 100 copies, numbered copies this year at Page. It's called Tomb of the Ancient Moor King, and it's a perfect one-shot convention module. But I've also, it came out of an adventure I ran for my home game group, which now there's multiple parts that have begun to blend together. But that is it's very near and dear to my heart. I'm working with Chet Minton. He's doing the artwork for it, and Baron Durop has given me indispensable advice on things. And I love the way it's coming together, and I can't wait for it to debut. I'm running it twice at Page as well, and I'll be running it at EggCon later this month out in Lake Geneva.
Yep.
And I'll be running it at Gamehole Con in October.
People keep pulling my arm on this Gamehole Con thing. I'm going to try to see if I can make it. I got to find out if Mike's going. If Mike's going, I might actually be able to go. So
Mike who?
Shoot, I'm
the Weather Dragon.
Weather Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He does amazing game tables.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Mm-hmm. He lives about an hour south of us, and he does custom game tables that are phenomenal.
Yep. So cool.
We should be talking to him about Page 4.
He's a carpenter. He does all his carpentry too.
Connect you two together.
I don't know if he doesn't have a union book. I'm gonna, that might. Okay. I gotta figure that out. But
he's a one-man show.
He's a one-man show right now. Yeah, with his custom tables, he's a one-man show. Yeah, I know he will be at Gen Con, PAX Unplugged. I don't think he got the opportunity to apply for Page. I know he had talked about it. He had talked to him about it. So
he didn't. Yeah. No.
So.
Yeah.
But next year we'll get him there. Promise.
Yeah.
Won't be hard. He's one of the ones I don't have an issue pulling arms.
We actually have Arcania's Workshop is making a custom table for Paige as a sponsorship.
That's cool.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
I've been told there are some surprises with it too. I don't know what they're going to be, but you know, I haven't been prying or pestering. So,
question is where does that table go at the end of the convention?
it goes to where everything else goes. It gets stored at my property.
Mike goes, my new gaming table.
Yeah.
Ron goes, my new gaming table.
You know what? I have the a now defunct Ultimate gaming table in my game room, and I actually picked up 2 additional Ultimate gaming tables for parts. So I think I'm stuck with Ultimate gaming table in my game room for a while.
I think that's,
you know,
I have game theory.
unless the Arcania's one's so awesome that I just can't.
Mm.
You know, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I would feel bad just to leave it underneath a sheet and to keep the dust off it in my warehouse. So
yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, might need to add that somewhere.
Yeah.
I forget who did so we got these as gifts trying to remember who did these. Hammer and Anvil. They make gaming tables as well. They were out at GaryCon, and they were
okay.
another huge. They do a lot of customized stuff, which is pretty neat. But yeah. So yeah. Can you give us the like the back of the cover, or like the back, like a paragraph of what the adventure is going to be about?
Tomb of the Ancient War King.
Yeah.
In the tournament setting, the PCs are sought out through emissaries of a very famous but aging adventuring bard, and he has come to the conclusion that he can no longer adventure at his advanced age, but he still wants to hear the tales of adventures so he can create songs. So he comes across information about an ancient tomb, and you know, he convenes this party, and the only thing he asks of them, if they want to go hit the tomb, they can keep what they want. He asks no commission, but when they come back out, he wants to know everything that happened. So I'm not going to talk about what happens in the tomb, but basically there's two opportunities for heavy role play at the beginning, when the party comes together basically around a campfire with this bard, and then they go down and they try to figure out how to get through this perhaps 1,000-year-old tomb that was just recently uncovered. You know, what could the dangers be there? So it's very appropriate to something that hasn't been discovered or robbed in 1,000 years. So, you know, you're not going to have orcs down there. But then when you get out, you have to tell the bard the story.
Oh, I like that.
And you know, so it's a lot of fun. You know, for those who will buy the module, that opening is there if you're going to run it as a one shot, but it also offers up scenarios of how to get an existing party involved to go down there.
Cool. I like that.
So,
well, I think it's going to be awesome. And if it hasn't sold out yet, it should be. So,
my events are sold out. I mean, I haven't made the adventure available for sale yet because we're still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of right now we're in art and layout is what
Nice.
we're doing. So, um, but it'll come with pre-generated characters. Um, Very old school vibe to the cover, front cover, back cover. The center is a blue scale map of the tomb, which Troy Allman of Cannibal Publishing generously helped me out with. He took my
Awesome.
notes and helped with that. And you know, the artwork Chet's done so far has been right on target. I love it. I get so excited. I'll be honest. I get very excited even talking about it. And like
Oh
every
yeah.
time every time Chet sends me something over and is like, I was thinking this, because he's read through the module and he's picked out certain things that have like spoken to him
Hmm.
in the module. I was thinking, this, and this for black and white art as layout help. And every
Yes.
time he sends me a draft of the art, I'm just like, it's awesome. Well, do you want any changes? I'm like, no. And he's like, but I think I messed up. That one PC is supposed to have long hair, and I gave her short hair, and I gave the priestess long hair, and she's got short hair. I said, I'll change the descriptions. It's no problem. Like, I love it the way you did it. I love the way they look. I don't, like, I
Yeah.
want the artists to have some license and follow their muse, and he's done that excellently. And you know, while I'm talking about Chet, what a great person.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely been. If you said to me who's been, uh, you know, if you who would be the top 5 people that have helped along the way to help make Page a success, Chet's definitely in that top 5 without question. He's done artwork for us. He's done layout work for us. Now he's working on this convention specific module. Uh, Chet has really helped Page from day one, and
Yeah.
you know, I really really appreciate that guy.
I've had the luxury to know Chet for the last few years, and once again, man is has a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Quick shout out to him. We did the local Dragon Fair last year down here in Southern Virginia, down here in Norfolk,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted a kids area, and I reached out to Chet with a simple request. I was like, "Hey Chet, I know you do a lot of coloring stuff. Is there anything can you give me one page, black and white, that the kids can color on?" He sent me 15 different character artworks pieces, and
Yeah.
he's like, and they're all kid oriented. It's stuff from like his interpretation of like Red Wall and all these like
Yep.
little, um, you know, miniature or like rodents and things like that that
Mm-hmm.
are all built up with the medieval style to them. And he was like, "Here, no." He's like, "I don't want anything for this. I just want this as part of the opportunity to have the kids, have something to do." And yeah, it's he's awesome.
Yeah. No, he is good man.
Love me some Chet. I saw him at CarryCon, and I'll see him probably again at Page and Genghis because he's there every year too. So, um, but yeah, well,
Hmm.
we're in our last 10 minutes, and there's no new questions. So let's roll our final dice for the night.
8.
8. Good one to finish this on too. What was a moment that your players or a player in your group surprised you that you would like to share?
Um,
I like it when they get close to the screen because they're really wanting to say something.
yeah, my one would be my wife. She surprised me when I first ran this Tomb of the Ancient War King. I'm not going to say how, but she came up with a brilliant plan for something that I hadn't even considered. And so that's one. But you know what? They
Players be players.
They surprise me all the time, and I'm not a soft touch as a DM. You will get cursed, you will get diseased, you will get poisoned, you will die. And you know what? They come up with some pretty good ideas. Now,
Do they all work? Is the question.
no, they collapsed an entire area, subterranean area that they were trying to get through, and they came across like a very ingenious trap, and it blocked their way. So they decided they were going to have an earth elemental, summon an earth elemental, and have it bash its way through, which caused everything to collapse. Which basically, that was the end of the adventure. It was like, well, you're not
getting out of this.
Yeah, I mean, they got out. They got out because they had backed out of the area, but they weren't going to be able to go forward, and they weren't coming up with plans that I felt were sufficient to overcome it. They're like, oh, well, the earth elemental should be fine. I'm like, the earth elemental is not fine. It's not fine. He had the top of a mountain collapse on him, so no, he's not fine. So, so that happens. But, players surprise you all the time with things they're going to do, or things they say, and I think it's great. I love to be surprised by what the players do. I mean, it's I'm trying to make it fun and challenging for them, and I'm glad when they can overcome it in a way that I haven't thought of.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Chuck, being a brand new game master, had his first experience of this.
Yeah.
We had planned for a show to only last so many episodes, and some players took his ideas and ran a completely different direction from what he thought they were going to go. And now the show's probably going to last a little longer than we had originally expected. But it's going to be fun. And it's Power Rangers, so who doesn't love some extra Power Rangers? So, yeah. Well, Ron, as always, it's great to have you here on the show. For those that have not already signed up for page 3 through this, you've got to do it. It's so much fun. You won't regret it, I promise you. And you'll be able to play nonstop. If you really want to play nonstop, you can play nonstop. And some of the game masters we had, both celebrity and non-celebrity, every game master knocked it out of the park. Every single one of them. Need a hotel room now.
Hampton Inn.
Like I said, the nice thing is free parking. So if you have to drive in, or you can drive in, and then drive to the convention and drive back. It's not that bad.
And if you're coming from the airport, we do our best to help people get to the area, because we're picking up special guests. When we find out somebody else is coming in at a certain time, we make carpool. So even if they're just a regular badge holder, we'll do our best. I mean, we can't guarantee it,
right?
But we do have shuttle service back and forth from the hotels to the convention center, and so you can get back and forth. And of course, we've got staff volunteers and gamers being gamers. There's a lot of
I think we took back.
Yeah, we did that a couple of nights. We did that. Well, I think we ended up having dinner with somebody.
Yeah, we did. We went to have dinner with somebody because of that, and
great.
So it was like I said, it was a
fun time.
It was an awesome experience, and definitely reminds me of why I like smaller conventions. Now it's not small by any minutes, but it's smaller than Gen Con and PAX Unplugged, which is not saying anything wrong with it at all, because I don't like big conventions for that reason. So go to Page. take anything else out of this,
that.
go to page.
Go to page.
Go to page.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, is there any last things you want to say, Ron, before we close down for the night?
One, I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on. It's always a good time chatting with you. And secondly, we have a very active Facebook community for Page. We have Discord. We have our own little YouTube channel now where we do some live streaming on Friday nights. So we have a good time with all of that. But if there's one thing you want to do, you want to visit our website at phillygamingexpo.com and check out everything that's going on there. Look through the events that are on the schedule already, and more the merrier.
Yeah. So
take that. And the fun thing is, even if you get there and you may find that your game might be a little overbooked, go anyway. There's a slim chance you might be able to hop in the table anyway, because the games are just that fantastic about it.
And I think Down the Dark Stairway, when you talk about being able to play constantly, that is always something you can jump into. And if you've been looking to learn to play Shadow Dark, that'll be a great one, because characters will be generated at the table. And it goes on all weekend. And if your character survives the weekend, you can bring the character back next year for the next adventure. So
I mean, I'll be running. I'll be helping running, so I won't be able to play. I might play something.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a ton of Shadow Dark on the schedule. Beyond that, I mean, there's, I think, 50 plus Shadow Dark events on the schedule. So,
God,
yeah, oh yeah, second only behind 5th edition D&D events. So,
and we're seeing that a lot lately. We're seeing Shadow Dark. We're seeing all sorts of other other games coming out. Yeah. Last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to close it down for the night. If you're looking to play something besides Dungeons and Dragons, conventions is the way to go. Period. Because you get to play so many different unique adventures that people have never touched or have never heard of. And it's so much fun because you always get somebody there who's played it before, but you always get a bunch of people who haven't. So it's just, you're all learning at the same time. So thanks again, Ron, for coming on board here at the Tavern. It's always fun to have you here, and I can't wait to come back to Page this year and see you guys and everybody else that was there. This, of course, is Tavern Talks, where we bring guests on every week, where you can ask your own questions to the guests that are here, and it's the closest thing you'll probably get without being in front of them to actually talk to a guest, because this is all we do is talk. And coming on board here the next throughout the week, we've got beaker builds tomorrow for, I think you're still working on the model kit.
Yep, Thousand Sunny.
Still
working on it.
Sunday is episode 2 of Power Rangers, Guardians of the Grid. Monday is, this week for Misfits is packed. I'm telling you. Monday is the return for me as game mastering for Icewind Dale's Dress to Quest. And then Wednesday we're back here at Tavern Talks. So you can actually see us 4 times this week compared to normal. So
want to see y'all Sunday.
We'll see you guys Sunday. Trust me. Don't want to miss that one. That was so much. It was so cool. Special shout outs to our artists, Brina Luna and Derek Stevens. Both have done work for our upcoming shows. All right. With that, I have no glass tonight because I went to the gym and didn't want to drink tonight. So raise your glasses high. This is last call. We'll see you guys all next week on Tavern Talks. Stick around as we raid some friends. It looks like we've got some people over in that are doing a charity. So let's do the charity raid tonight because that sounds like fun. We're going to Daxar 19. They're still running. No, I don't see it.
Oh.
Okay.
He's figuring out all the tech. Bye, everybody.
Bye. I want to make sure we don't lose anybody. before we end the
We're
room.
not losing.